Set your project directory, click on the project directory button, open up a folder called Meta Effectors, and click Open to Set. Go to File, I'm going to load a scene from the Scenes folder called Meta Effect Rigid Setup. So I've made a mech model hand here. I've added bones, as you can see underneath and in the list, and it's been animated. This is made up of several smaller meshes that curl, but it's all inside one single model file. Now, Messiah bones, when they are set to the default deformations, will distort this as if it were made of rubber. You'll see that, and just click on play and watch it. See the different meshes are wrinkling and getting out of the way, and it doesn't look like a rigid mesh at all. We're going to use Meta Effectors to effectively split out each closed mesh inside this model file and attach it to the bones so that it looks like metal instead of rubber when we're animating. Let's click on Setup. The first thing we're going to do is change the way that Messiah handles bones. So click on the Mech Deform node under the Mech Skeleton effect and look at the Target Object Options block. Right now it's set to factored weights. So if we add Meta Effectors to each of these joints, what it will do is shift the value to the bones that are under those joints, as opposed to actually making them the solid value as if they were a separate object. If we set it to direct weights, it takes the value directly from the Meta Effector and applies it to the bone where no other bone has influence on it. So leave it on direct weights. Let's go into the Tools tab, and under the pull-down menu here, highlight Meta Effector. Select the mech hand. Click on the plus button to add the Meta Effector. Go into Items, let's rename that one to the first part of the mesh we're going to split out. Switch to a top view. I think we need to move the wrist. So let's change this one to mech_wrist meta. Let's close up the rest block. You'll see the Meta Effector block. There's an Add Items to Weight drawing list. Hold down the Control key, select Wrist Meta and Mech Hand, and then click the Add Items button. It will change it to weight mode. Now let's add an effector so we can see what we're doing when we move the effector around. Let's change the X, Y, and Z radius on this effector field to 0.05 on all X, Y, and Z. And we'll position this field right on top of this chunk of mesh we'll call the wrist. Let's set the field of influence to all connected, which means everything that's overlapping the field that's connected to a single closed mesh, it will select it all. We run this on top of any other mesh, you can see it select each chunk. So you know that this is a collection of single meshes in one object. So stick it on the wrist. Close that one up. Let's go to the Tools tab again. Let's add another Meta Effector. Let's name this one mech_thumb palm meta. Let's check mark here to make it the active view on the drawing mode. We'll add an effector. Let's move this one over on top of the thumb. Change the X, Y, and Z radius to 0.05. And the field of influence will change to all connected, so it selects the mesh that it's overlapping. Tools tab, add another effector. Let's drag that one to the bottom of the list. Close up the previous one. Go back to Items and name this one mech_thumb meta. Click on the check mark to make it the active drawing view. Add an effector. Let's position this right on top of the first thumb part here. Change the X, Y, and Z radius to 0.05. And the field of influence to all connected. Now just move it around until it stops overlapping other meshes. It just happens to be right here on the edge of the knuckle. Go back into Tools. Let's add another Meta Effector. Drag that to the bottom of the list, close up the previous one. We'll change the name of this meta effector to mech_thumb2 meta. Check to make it the active drawing. Add an effector. Move this one onto the second joint. We'll change the X, Y, and Z radius to 0.05 and the field of influence to all connected. Just move it until you see only one joint highlighted. Go back into Tools, add another effector, drag that to the bottom of the list, close up the previous one. Let's name this one mech_thumb3 meta. Check to make it the active drawing. Let's add an effector. We'll position this onto the tip of the thumb. Change the X, Y, and Z radius to 0.05. And change the field of influence to all connected, so it selects the tip. We're going to continue that for each of these fingers. For example, this one will be index palm, index meta, index 2 meta, index 3 meta, middle palm, middle meta, middle 2 meta, middle 3 meta, middle 4 meta. Let's go to File. We're going to save this scene as meta effect rigid a.fxs.